China's power play, how blocking Google, Apple and Amazon signals a new era in global tech. Welcome to LCC News, where we dive into the most pressing global issues that no one is talking about until now. What if I told you that the future of global technology just shifted dramatically? And it's something that will change the landscape of power between East and West forever. While the world's eyes were glued to political dramas and celebrity gossip, China quietly made a move that has Silicon Valley on edge. In a bold, calculated maneuver, China has just blocked some of the biggest names in American tech: Google, Apple, and Amazon. And trust me, the panic inside these companies is real. Today we're going to break down exactly what happened, why China made this drastic move, and what it means not just for the future of technology, but for the balance of global power. The stakes are high, and the effects of this shift will ripple across industries for years to come. This isn't just another political move. This is the start of a new era in global tech. So buckle up, because we're diving deep into one of the most significant geopolitical shifts of the 21st century. For years, big tech giants like Google, Apple, and Amazon treated the Chinese market like a gold mine. 1 billion-plus people, a booming middle class, and an unquenchable thirst for cutting-edge technology. It was the ultimate dream. China was the promised land for growth, an untapped market where American companies could thrive, even as tensions flared between Beijing and Washington, especially under President Trump. Big tech tried to keep a foot firmly planted in China. They believed they could still navigate the storm, still turn a profit. But China had different plans. Here's the kicker. China saw the writing on the wall long before this moment. They knew that relying on American tech companies posed a significant risk. They saw how the US government could wield its corporations like political weapons, sanctions, bans, and tariffs at the drop of a hat. So China did what any strategic nation would do. They started building their own tech giants. We're talking about homegrown cloud computing, native app ecosystems, and e-commerce platforms that could stand toe-to-toe with the best the US had to offer. Behind the scenes, they were quietly laying the groundwork for a future where American tech companies would have little to no foothold in the world's largest emerging market. The foundations for today's tech battle were set during the trade wars under President Trump. Remember when Trump slapped tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods? He claimed it would bring manufacturing back to America and force China to change its policies. But here's what he missed. Tariffs are a double-edged sword. They hurt American companies just as much, if not more. Big tech found itself caught in the middle of a political war it never signed up for. Tariffs drove up costs for companies like Apple, forcing them to rethink their manufacturing in China. Amazon and Google had to reevaluate their global logistics and supply chains. Instead of folding under pressure, China responded with calculated patience. They ramped up investments in their own industries, they increased domestic consumption, and accelerated the development of homegrown technologies. And over time, they started preparing for a future where American tech would no longer dominate the Chinese market. By the time the tariffs hit, China was already moving to take full control of its tech ecosystem. And now here we are, with China pulling the rug out from under Silicon Valley's feet. Before this major shift, companies like Google, Apple, and Amazon had a delicate but profitable relationship with China. Apple was selling millions of iPhones and even opened exclusive Apple stores in major cities. Amazon, though struggling in e-commerce, maintained a strong foothold in China's cloud market. And Google, even though mostly banned, the company still managed to tap into China's vast market with ad services and special projects like the controversial Dragonfly search engine. But that delicate balance was shattered with China's new cybersecurity laws. Apple now has to store all Chinese user data on local servers controlled by Chinese companies. Google, completely blocked, no workarounds left. And Amazon, pushed out of the cloud business unless they hand over operational control, something they just can't afford to do. From now on, the landscape is different. China's homegrown tech giants, Huawei, Xiaomi, Alibaba, Tencent, will now fill the void left by American companies. These firms will dominate everything from consumer electronics to cloud computing and mobile apps. For American big tech, their access to China's market has been permanently severed. their ability to influence the world's largest emerging economy, gone. This is not a temporary freeze, this is the end of an era for big tech in China. While the US was distracted by trade wars and technology blockades, China was quietly laying the groundwork for a complete shift in the global tech landscape. They've heavily invested in companies like Huawei, Tencent, Alibaba, and ByteDance. They've nurtured homegrown semiconductor startups, passed new cybersecurity laws, and even introduced regulations that make it harder for foreign companies to do business in China. This is all part of a broader strategy called dual circulation, where China prioritizes domestic markets and supply chains, reducing dependency on foreign tech. As the US doubles down on sanctions, something even bigger is quietly unfolding on the global stage. The rise of BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, has become a formidable economic bloc. And now, with other countries looking to join, it's clear that BRICS is becoming a major counterforce to Western-dominated global systems. For big tech, this is devastating news. BRICS nations are developing their own tech alternatives, payment systems that bypass SWIFT, cloud platforms to rival AWS, and social media ecosystems that don't need Silicon Valley to thrive. Big tech giants like Google, Apple, and Amazon were built on the assumption that they would always have access to every major global market. But with BRICS gaining strength, that assumption is rapidly collapsing. The BRICS nations are already building alternatives to US tech dominance. China is leading this charge, but Brazil, Russia, India, and South Africa are not far behind. They are investing in their own technologies, platforms, and services, and they're determined to build a future where Silicon Valley no longer calls the shots. China has already implemented strict cybersecurity audits that force foreign companies to store data locally. Amazon and Google rely on controlling user data as part of their business models, so being forced to hand over control is a massive blow. China has also begun regulating app stores with a heavy hand. Apple's App Store is being hit particularly hard, with regulations requiring all apps to be registered with a Chinese business license, forcing American developers to jump through impossible bureaucratic hoops. This is no longer a situation where American tech can sneak through backdoors. No more secret projects like Google's Dragonfly to circumvent restrictions. China has made it clear. American tech dominance in China is officially over. Let me tell you something you won't hear from mainstream media. The real problem isn't China blocking big tech, it's America's leadership. Under President Trump, the US launched tech wars and slapped tariffs, but failed to realize that you can't bully a global power like China into submission. China is not a small nation to be pushed around. It's a civilization with a long-term vision, and they're now reaping the rewards of strategic patience. Losing China is catastrophic for big tech. The country represents one of the fastest-growing consumer tech markets in the world. Billions of dollars in revenue that companies like Google, Apple, and Amazon will never see again. And it's not just about revenue. It's about innovation. China's massive user base was a testing ground for new products, ideas, and technologies. Without access to that, American companies will fall behind. This shift isn't just about technology. It's about the future of global power. By blocking American tech, China is sending a clear message: we don't need you anymore. This is a direct challenge to America's technological supremacy. China is carving out its own tech ecosystem, and once it fully decouples, other nations will follow. The days of a US-controlled tech monopoly are over. We're entering a multipolar world where countries are building their own systems, independent of Washington. The old world where the US set all the global rules is fading. A new, more balanced world is rising, and that's a good thing. Competition is healthy. A world where every nation has a fair shot at growth and success is better for everyone. So there you have it. China just blocked big tech, and the consequences will ripple across the globe for years to come. Stay tuned, because I'll be diving deeper into China's next moves in AI, BRICS banking systems, and the future of global trade without the dollar. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into global politics and the real economy beyond the headlines. Thanks for hanging out with me today. See you in the next one.